Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday, May 10th, 2016. And it's very awkward to say Tuesday because I almost never stream on Tuesday. Again, always the time. 1 second. Okay, so it's like, hey, I'm going live, and Steam and the sneeze says, okay, I'm coming. It's like, no. I was offline for like 3 minutes. Could have sneezed then. Nope. Wait till I turn my webcam on, right? Anyway, let's just get into this. I should restart, but yeah, this is how it is. And for some reason Visual Studio wants to recache something. I don't understand. Oh, right. Duh. Only been doing this for like a year and a half. So now we got our little logic all sorted out, all debugged. At least the bugs that we found so far. Should really change it up though to make it a bit better, a bit easier to maintain. It's a bit spaghetti right now. Actually, it brings me to something I was going to talk about on the. Let's actually have it be here. So now we can select a piece. And select another space. We don't implement, so we haven't implemented selecting your own piece to change it, but you know, if we right click, it will cancel. And you cannot select pieces that are not your own. You can double click to select the, well. Not so much double click, like if you do this it won't work. You have to, wait for it to settle first. I might change that in the future, I don't know. These are things that can be fixed in like, you know, a day or whatever. But yeah, that's what I was gonna say is one thing I've been noticing as well is when it comes to actually productivity in this, keep in mind all of this doesn't actually matter because the point of this stream is the stream, at least for now. The game is basically a reason to do it, right? But the nature of forcing yourself to go on stream and spend 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, to program something doesn't really work well for productivity. It gives you the not incentive, but the motivation to sit down and spend 2 hours doing something, which is good, but talking on stream, explaining what you're doing, making it interesting, or trying to, which I'm not the best at, but, you know, and not being able to read tutorials, not being able to do X, Y, and Z, doesn't exactly make it very good for productivity, for getting actual work done. So it's one thing that you're kind of thinking of. It's like, this is not really the best situation to get stuff done. It felt like it at first, but it will, you know, when you're actually being like, oh, I need to see a video tutorial on how to do X, Y, and Z in Real Engine 4, you can't put a YouTube video in there because you don't want to have your YouTube video get flagged by it or whatever. So, and what am I gonna do? Put you on break for 5 minutes in the middle of the episode, then I have to cut it out, even though I don't count my breaks, but still. Anyway, or it'd be boring, right? Or 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, or 15 minutes. Oh, nope. Speaking hotkeys. Actually, 1 second again. Allergies have been bad this year for some reason. Seems to be getting me a lot more than it did last year. Anyway. Or maybe I'm just not remembering as much last year, I don't know. So yeah, what we need to do now is work on the king range. So what we're going to do is add a new property to to each, to the base piece, I should say, not to each piece. I mean, it will be to each piece, but yeah. Control range. I'm gonna call it control range. It doesn't have to be called whatever. It's a property that's just for me. And the constructor, I'm going to have it set. Yeah, I'll do control range equals 0. And then in the king, in its constructor, I'm going to have control range equals 0. Let's try 8 for now. This will be the radius at which the piece will provide control, right? So when we loop through each, possible move, each possible tile, to see how far a queen can move or whatever, what we can do is then compare each tile distance to all other pieces that are part of that army, and check to see if it's in range. So that way, if you have a piece that's been isolated as it's too far away from a king, the player can't click on it. I can actually show you what that looks like because that was implemented in the last version. The last version being a 2014 one, 2015. Once I find it. Why do I have a real engine there? Huh. There we are, package targets. There we are. Now we're turning on check it. There we are. Okay. So the launch map, I gave king control maximum. So the king, no matter where the king is in the board, the entire board is covered. I think I gave it 10. So there is no place that you can't move right now. But on cross streams, I wish there was some way we could just shut down hotkeys in OBS. Actually, let's see, is there a... Yeah. Anyway, so as you see here, is the king range of 8. So all of this is accessible to the king. The queen can move up to that point, and the knight exists outside that point, but I can select them, but I can't do anything with him because he's outside my range of control. I'd have to move the king closer to the knight in order for me to be able to control them. What we're implementing now is this control range. We're going to set a default of 8. That can change. As a matter of fact, I'm even thinking that a power-up card will allow you to achieve more in a match. And I'm also thinking about not having that be, I mean, it's replicated, the server will know, but not having it be replicated on the to clients, right? I mean, actually, there's no real way I can yeah, I guess there wouldn't be any way I can enforce that. My thought was not have the clients know, so that way they can position and be like, they're out of range here, but they weren't because they played a power-up card and got more range. The problem is the way it has to be implemented is either on the game state or on the actually, maybe it could. If I have... Okay, so if I have... The server would have to know, so the server would be able to cheat. The individual clients wouldn't, though. So it would replicate in... And I mean, you're looking at, in this case, having people inspect the values in memory, right? By using a program like Cheat Engine or something. Because it's not about, geez, well, it's not about what they said too, because they can't affect it, but it's what that the server says. So I'm thinking because each piece would have to be replicated to all clients in order for it to physically be on the board, but I wouldn't need to replicate that property. The server would need to know, so the server can inspect and see what its pieces allow. So if it's a listen server, they'd be able to cheat. But it's possible that only the server and the client that owns that piece could know about that property, and all the other clients would not. If that's the case, then that would be a bit easier for cheating. Or a bit harder to cheat, I should say. Easier to protect against cheating. But there would still be that problem of a listen server, not a dedicated server, because dedicated server is controlled by none of the players. In an ideal world. Competitive or whatever. But this in a listen server, the server would be able to look if it ran a program on itself and determine what king has been or what piece. It doesn't have to be a king for control. In the original check-it was only a king. In this, it's going to be only the king unless I add extra units beyond the original 6 chess pieces. And I don't really have an idea for a piece that could. Well, I mean, maybe if I introduce the prince or, you know, or a duke or something. Have the duke and have its special ability be Nukem. No, that'd be the worst pun probably in video game history, and there's been some pretty bad ones. No, I made several of them, but yeah. So I may want to have it replicated and have it be offset. I mean, there's only so much cheating you can do. I mean, the server can, you know, if a server's the one that's cheating, they can just trip the victory condition, right? Or whatever, if they really know what they're doing. I guess it wouldn't really matter that much. But yeah, have the ranges be alterable by, you know, power-ups or whatever. That could work. Anyway, back to what we're doing. So now we have multiple control ranges, and the base piece is set to 0. So every piece besides the king, or any other king, or any other piece that has it adjusted, will have a control range of 0. Is this connection poor because of you or me? I don't see any dropped frames. However, it's not unheard of for my connection to Twitch to be bad. As a matter of fact, most of the time it's Twitch. So, I'm sending less than normal. I'm sending about 2.5 megabits. I can't say it's you or me or whatever, but I don't know. Okay, so now what we need to do is add a method. This is a really funky song. It's called Delayed Friend Request. Okay. We're gonna have bool. I don't need to have the speed network replicated because it will be run on the client or the server for a client or a server function. So according to my understanding of Unreal Engine 4 network mechanics, that doesn't need to be replicated because it will all pull into a function that itself is replicated. So it's fine. So bool. Oh. There we are. Bool. Is within control. F int vector location. So this will be a function that could be called in any piece. As a matter of fact, when I actually, because again, I'm not sure if I'm going to have a prince or a duke or a princess or whatever that can have control range, or whatever else piece it would be. I'm going to have implement on the base piece, and if it's not the king, it'll be 0 and always return false. Right? So we'll see about that. Control, good. So let's create a definition. So now I'm going to need to do a and the reason why I want to have this on the piece is because I want to have it somewhere, of course, but I also want to have it in a place that will always behave the same way. If I put it on some manager of some sort, then there would be a temptation to have it implement on a different manager. And then will the implementations always spit out the same results? Then you can read the bugs, right? So I'm thinking there will always be a case where I'd have a piece handy. Have the piece handy. So, yeah. And if I end up needing a manager, then I will change this, just use a manager, and I'll have a point. So, actually, that's a very bad thing to do because I already have a location attribute, so I'd be doing location equals location. That's not good. So query location, sure. In 32 distance equals let's see if there's an fint vector for distance, fint vector function for distance. Actually, let's open up our trusty. What did I accidentally? There's not a function for that, but yeah. UE4 API fmath. Fint vector distance. Okay. And it'll be an int32. Okay. Fint vector displacement equals location minus query, or head to tail, so query location minus location. It doesn't matter necessarily because int32 distance equals fint vector Size, displacement, that should, if it behaves sensibly, always be positive. F int vector size. I can actually just peek the definition, now that I think of it. Oh, okay. Displacement. Size. Are you going to complain now? Okay, now let's do a peak definition. There we are. So it casts to an F32 square root of x squared plus y squared plus z squared. That will be always positive. So there we are. I don't do peak definition nearly as much as I should. It's a very useful tool. If distance is less than or equal to control range, return true. Otherwise, return false. Make sure this is right. Yep. So in the oh. That won't work. Because the way it was in the past, the way it was in the past, that would have been a really interesting bug to see in the future and have me just going crazy over. The way it was in the past, we would have, excuse me there, we would have the king be the only one with control. And the king would always have control over itself, because that's fine, right? The problem is now if we have a control range of 0, I suppose I could have made control range 0, -1, but that would work. That'd actually be a good idea. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to keep this, and we're going to make the default piece control range -1. Because the way this would have been is every piece would have been able to control itself, and thus there would be, well, I guess that wouldn't matter because we wouldn't, yeah, it would be bad on the fringe, so every piece could control itself. So if you had a fringe where there was a boundary such that the piece was outside the boundary of the king control range, but itself would control itself, it could jump into the boundary. That would be bad. So I would need to leave it to -1. Hey, Durs, welcome to the chat. Okay, so here's something funny. There's a interesting, and I'm seeing it from the guy in chat. I want to say his name, but I'll say it in a second. So there's an interesting thing that we were learning as well, and it's something to do with human psychology. And the way we can read. It turns out that as long as the first and the last letter of the word and every letter are correct, and every letter in between is part of the word is just anagram, the human brain can actually read it apparently, supposedly, about as fast as regular speed, as a regular reading speed, with about the same amount of difficulty. So, I don't really know if that's really scientifically valid, but someone said, well, there's studies for everything, and, you know, there's a John Oliver sketch recently about how studies are BS in a lot of cases. But it was funny because the person one of my old friends there, wrote a post in the forum, this is, I'm talking like 2003, 2004, where she wrote about the this finding, and in her post, deliberately did it where every word was spelled incorrectly by transposed letters all throughout the post, and every one of us were able to read the post that she wrote pretty much without issue, even though all the words were messed up. So the chatter came in, this is the reason why I was talking about it, the chatter came in, their name is Bag Bob Ilgins, so Bagbobbilgins, and I kept reading as Bilbo Baggins, because, you know, that's what he kind of associated with, and it was, you know, obviously this is where I got this thought from, and sure enough, that is the actual, it fits the same, pattern of, you know, the first and last letter, but everything else can be transposed within, as long as every letter is the same, or every letter is present, and the first and last are in order. So it was interesting. Something that kind of blew my mind when I was, you know, in high school. Yes, I was in high school in 2003, and 2004, and 2002. Anyway, doesn't matter. That was a while ago. What I'm saying is I'm old. So, right. Now, I don't want this to be part of every tick, because first off, this is a big performance burden, right? I want to happen as few times as possible, because I'm going to be having to loop through a bunch of tiles, possibly all tiles, unless I figure out some way of making it higher performance, which I don't think I can, especially if I have multiple kings. I don't know if I can find some algorithm that can have me cut them out, but every time that something changes, as you saw in the demo, it was after every turn, and it would actually be laggy, so I want to cut that out. I think part of the reason was because I was doing material swaps, so right now we're doing a parameter, which would just change the parameter, which should be high performance. So, about that, what we're going to be doing is, as few times as possible, changing all of the tiles that are in range of the controlling pieces, in which case it would be the king. To be to not have an aura, the little glowing thing around it, in which case is usually a dark gray. So in order for us to do that, we have to find out some event that happens every time that could change, and then check all of the possible tiles and adjust them accordingly. One possibility, as I said, is every time the player controller ticks. That's several times per second for an event that will happen once per turn in every situation I can think of. So I probably don't want to do that. But yeah, let's... and it's only a client-side effect. The server doesn't need to care. The server will need to care about what is allowed and what is not. It does not need to care about what the physical what the material representation of it is. Material representation not being like, not being like we normally say material representation. I mean like what material is applied to the object. So what we're going to need to do is add a method. Come on. Trying to think of where would be the best place in this file to start it. I guess I'll start at the bottom here. Pragma region client side effects and region. And the reason why I was kind of hesitating is because some of these apply under that, and it's also going to affect a tile, and yeah. Void check. Sorry, update in range tiles. Again, this is all client side, we don't care, but the server knowing it, because the server, all it's going to do is on move, look and ask all the pieces, hey, are you in range, right? It's not going to actually have to show it, apart from the server's player itself, if it's a listen server. And there's no real reason to bog down the server with a bunch of material changes for something that's not, for a player it's not showing to. Let's close that down. Okay, so now where's game state? There we are. The reason why we do game state is because it has the list of all of the tiles, and it's updated to the client. It's available to client or server. In this case, we only care about the client, I mean, but yeah, the server to client. For T-array, a piece, yeah, it's a good pointer. T-array, a piece, this player's our pieces. Do I have on the game state a function that lets me get all the pieces of a specific player? No, I don't. Okay, so I'm gonna have to, okay. Do I have global team number? I wouldn't have put it here. Player state. Do I have it on the player state? Base player state. Unique ID. No, I don't. Of course I don't, because I don't. I have possibly multiple. Yeah. So what do I store on the F team? Okay, so I guess what I'm going to have to do is make the... It's going to be bad interface, but I'm kind of painting myself in the corner if I want to allow one player in multiple teams for the fun of it. Have it be when the player is not the selected player, all of their control, all their tiles will be out of control. So like have the disabled cloud over them, aura over them, and only when the player is selected will their aura open up. This will make things a lot easier from a management standpoint, and possibly not impossible in some other cases. Because you can think of the issue of if a player state can control multiple teams, which team are they on right now? Well, I can query for whoever a selected player is. Great. But what if it's not them? What if it's that player's other turn? Well, I want to hide those. How do I know which one it is? Because a player state can't say I belong to this team, because it could belong to one of either team, right? Or 3 teams or 4 teams. Or 10 teams. That can be a problem. So I guess the easiest way to do it from an interface standpoint is to just close down, disable everything so people can't... Unfortunately, this means that people can't eyeball what's in range for next time. They'll have to wait for their turn to see what they're in range of if they don't remember it. That might be another skill that a player would use to get ahead if they can remember and have more time to think. Even though I'm not planning on implementing a turn clock. Not a... Well, I kind of have to make sure someone just can't walk away, right? Be like, oh, I'm 1 turn away from losing. I'll just make a peer open until they disconnect, right? That'd be kind of a dick move. Yeah, I guess I'd have to do that. Anyway, so, yeah. So probably the best idea is only when the player's turn is valid. Yeah. which simplifies things. It feels a bit more hacky than anything else, and it's gonna be a hack that will stay forever. But yeah. But it's a compromise to have the open-ended gameplay that I require, right? So get current player state is good. Okay, so T-array int 32, get current player spawns. Should actually have this be somewhere else. I'm gonna have to rearrange some of these. I wonder, is there a way in Visual Studio for you to be able to reorder all of the functions in a C++ file to align with the order of the header file? Should check on that. Visual C++, sort function by header file order. And yes, I know there is ways, fairly easy ways of doing it through a command line operating on your project, but I don't really want to. I really don't want to shell script my own project, be it through Node or whatever. Reorder. There we are. Sharper. I probably should just click on random links through on stream, but you know, I mean, Stack Overflow and Answer Hub are pretty pretty safe, but you know. That's interesting. Yeah, it's funny, actually. I was looking up a while ago, and apparently Walmart owns, of all companies, owns 6, I think, research labs throughout the world, just for actually web design. Anyway, so get current player spawns. And then T-array a piece, get current players pieces. Yeah, there we are. So quick actions, define. IntelliSense does its thing because it takes forever because it's IntelliSense. And then it'd be nice if Epic's plugin, I know they have Visual Studio plugins, if it would fix that stupid after you property macro. Okay, flip over. I should actually check and see what these macros expand as. This would be interesting. Is there a way we can peek that? Peek definition of U property. Define U property. Parts by Unreal Header tool, of course. So I need to look and see how Unreal Header tool is programmed, which I believe they also provide the source code of, but yeah. Get current player spawns, get current player pieces. That wasn't listed on the dropdown. That's not on the dropdown. Oh, that's weird. There we are. Oh, that's not the one I heard. Okay, so these are ones. Oh, maybe I need to save first. Now let's be part of the drop-down menu. Yeah, there we are. Okay. Okay, so yeah, get current competitor, so return get current competitor dot assign spawns. And then T-array int 32 current spawns equals get current player spawns. Now I have a list of spawns. I can just loop through the level and anyone that matches, set it up. So T-array a piece output equal output for int 32 I equals 0, I less than whatever I called that level pieces. I plus plus if level pieces I spawn number, there we are, equals oh, I need to do a double nested int 32 j equals 0, or int 32, what the, for int 32 j equals 0, j less than current spawns dot num, j plus plus, there we are. If level pieces I dot spawn number equals current spawns j, there we are. output dot add level pieces I. I don't need to do add unique because there will only ever be a single spawn number on any given piece, so I don't have to worry about this occurring multiple times. As long as get current player spawns is unique. And if not, then I have a bug. Which would be really difficult to do because that would be assigned by the menu. And the menu is procedurally generated, so... You end up having a menu with multiple spawns the same number and so on and so forth, right? And then once I have all that, return output. Which could be empty if the player has no pieces. There we are. I mean, this is going to be a deep copy. It's going to be not the most efficient code. Whatever. But then you have the issue of if it gets garbage collected midway, right? I don't know why it would be, but... you know. So back to what we're doing. So our pieces equals game state get current player pieces, and that should be correct. So all that should just be here. If where is that? The current player status was. If game state get current player state equals player state. I don't think I need to cast this. Now, of course, I'm deading myself. Compare child to parents. C++. I guess I should do C++ UV4. Okay, not overloaded. Ah, crap. UE log. What am I doing? I was gonna re-implement this. UE log class warning text macro they're equal. Right, so now one nice thing is that I can always attach this to the player controller because I have debug. Battalion rate. And this has been bound to my debug performance command, which I believe is like P or something. Project settings, inputs, debug performance is P, as it is. Recompile, and also get out of here. I also need to look at the output log. I thought I got rid of those. Hot load failed. Oh, okay, I screwed up somewhere. Okay. Let's try doing a build, see what failed. If the failed is the cast, or the lack of cast, then that could be interesting. Yeah. Oh, do I need to do this? Oh. Well, that could be a problem if I didn't make it a method. Okay, yeah. That was silly. So first I'm gonna try with the player in spawn 1, which means that they should be a selected player. And the AI in team 2. So P, probably disable those as I said earlier. They are equal, good. Which now means I need to try it the opposite way. They should not be equal because it should be the AI's turn. Because AI is just going to sit on its turn forever. Because I haven't implemented anything else it can do yet. No. That's good. Okay, so I don't need to cast in. So if they are equal, that's that. Else, hide all tiles except shroud all tiles except in range ones. Shroud all tiles So get current player pieces. So this is a list of our pieces. Now I'm going to need to have a function on tile that will, or a method on tile or something. No, method. Or a property on tile, I should say, but yeah. Something that says whether it's hidden or not. That'll probably be restore material. We just fixed that with our discussion earlier today about only current player. Kind of. Or that wouldn't work. I'm gonna say, or I could just make the aura disappear and have it be separate, since it's already tracked separately. But then I wouldn't have it be able to glow. I mean, one of the simple things to do would just be have a 3 auras on the, or sorry, 2 auras on the tile. So you have a tile, base tile material, then an aura around it, then aura around that. The aura, one of the 2 auras will be for disabled, probably the inner one, but the outer one would be for when you move or select or whatever. Yeah, so, but that's not what we're gonna do. We're gonna have to actually adjust it each time. Okay. All right. The problem is when you start adding conditions, you start actually blowing up your workload factorially, not even exponentially, because you have to think of all the possible pairings, right? Oh, I just have an if here. So, Work is freedom. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna have it. Property be in range. Client in range. And then F linear color. This is getting ugly. F linear color. Get rest or rest color. Nope, that's it's not the button I wanted to press. So now let's create a definition for this. Ugly, but yeah. Okay. If be what did I call it again? Be client in range. Else. Actually, I even need else. Return F linear color. If client in range, 0. Oops. Okay. So anywhere where I see it disabled, I will do rest color. Which is hacky. But hopefully this is the only thing I have to actually do to it. Let's restore material. So just check one thing first. Oh right, there is no animation, right? Forgot about that. Something that I thought one maybe we were pulsing. Right. I mean, it might be at some point. Okay, so we need to get all the tiles in range. 4 int 32 I equals 0. I less than level tiles dot num. The big list of all tiles in level I plus plus. Oh, game state. Well, I mean, earlier when I said about the garbage collector, I think that the only reason I would use it without actually, you know, I said passing by reference versus passing directly. I think the only time I would actually use that function is if I were to either use it within a single block or use it locally, in which case the garbage collector would not get rid of it because it would still be in use because it would be within a scope, right? And then if I were to actually store it in the heap, I would then make a copy of it, but still, yeah. Anyway. Okay. I think I'm actually gonna have to do this twice. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get through it twice. So, level tiles I, and then what do I call it here? Be client in range. Be client in range equals false. And then oh, game state. Come on, you're fun. Then for int 32 I equals 0, I less than game state, level tiles dot num, I plus plus. Now we're gonna do the heavy one where we're gonna add everything back. So we're undoing all of the tiles. The state on the tiles, the variable on the tiles that says you are in range. Regardless of whether it was or not, it could be setting. It's going to be setting false again to the majority of the tiles in a lot of cases, but you know, unless you're at the chessboard level, which is small, but yeah. Now we're going to then go through for int 32 j equals 0, j less than our pieces dot num, j plus plus. If game state level tiles I what do you think have this again? Was it the game state or the function where I had whether it was on the piece, right? Yeah, I put it on the piece. Is within control area. If our pieces j dot is within control. Game state level tiles I, or whoops, what am I doing? Location whoa, what happened there? Why are you complaining? Expect an expression. I was gonna say, but this returns an expression. Thank you very much. Get off my back, Visual Studio. You don't know me. Level tiles I dot b or game state. Level tiles I the client in range equals true. So now we did all that. Actually, what I do here, game state level tiles. Sorry. If game state level tiles I doesn't equal, sorry, location doesn't equal selected location. Game state level tiles I restore material. It is ugly, but you know, what can we do? So we're gonna full build. There we are. Oh, a force. Oh, right. Or we want it to be false. Because we don't want to assert that the selected location is different, even though we're going to be changing it. Actually, we don't even need this. There we are. So now we should have, when we press P, all the tiles in range of our king turn that color. Turn the appropriate aura. Sorry, you want this, want this, want this, go. Didn't work. Why didn't it work? So update tiles in range is still there. Or in range tiles, did you say? What did I not finish it? That should work. Let's actually get rid of that. Let's start with debugging. See if this is ever tripped. A lot of output. So, splash screen, load in. Okay, so we are here. So we are seeing Klein in range for $288. Continue. So we are getting some. Let's see what happened there. So now let's enter here. So we're getting the restore material, so that's working. Step in. Decline in range. true. So F linear color 0. Okay, yeah, that's a definite problem. And that will probably solve our issue. Forget to type the return statement, so it says, here's linear color. Okay, I'm going to return this one. Jeez. Create a local variable, destroy a local variable, return the other variable. Oh, jeez. These things happen. I hope, at least. Hopefully it's not just me. There we are. Alright, so I've been given a image, and it said, can I make it something like this? Let's see what that is. I am not going to run that. And I'd probably recommend no one else runs it either. It's trying to load a Flash file. Actually, I should close down Firefox. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Flash files in general, but, well, kind of. But, yeah. There is a 0-day against it. They say JPEG, and it tries to download a Flash file. Don't trust it. Too late, you already got inside. No, you didn't. I can guarantee not. Okay, so now we have the client side there. We will now try the opposite way around. Let's try this. Update. Nothing, because we're not supposed to see anything because it's not our turn. There we are. That's how it is. So let's commit this. Add king range with visual, which client side effect. There we are. So now we can see now we can see that. So whenever the turn is not that player's turn, it will I don't even know why I didn't just ban the person for trying to put malware in the chat, but yeah, I wasn't really positive that's what they were doing intentionally, like they could have been hacked or something, but yeah. Yeah. I like the way this HDRI map looks. The one by Epic's Front Yard. It's really difficult with a mouse and keyboard to navigate when you're on a 45 oblique angle. If you want to go like this, it's hard to make it go both buttons pressing at the same time. I mean, for the first one. Afterwards, you can just hold it down, but yeah. And if you're using a control stick, it's fine, but... And you'll probably be clicking mostly with the mouse anyway. Okay, now what's next? Probably should report them from Twitch. Since when they say too late, I already got inside, thanks. It's clearly not just a, you know, they were hacked sort of thing, because it's clearly some logic behind it. Anyway. Regardless. Yeah, it's 11. I was gonna think, do I want to continue on with this or call it a day? I think that's good for now. So, yeah, we made it such that on the client side, well, first off, we have a function for client or server that will check to see whether any given tile is within range of the king. And on the client side, we also implemented the player controller right now just by pressing the P key, but eventually it'll be looped into the turn change. What's that? Excuse me. That'll be looped in with the turn change. That will show and hide the in control shrouds auras. So yeah, that's that. So thanks everyone for watching, and have a good, I'm not going to be here tomorrow, because it's Wednesday, of course. Have a good couple days. Thanks for watching. Oh, and one last thing as well for people who are not quite aware. There's a 0-day flash vulnerability that's been discovered right now, and they're not going to patch it till like Thursday or so. Says Adobe or whatever. So if you're wondering why I'm being extra paranoid about Flash right now, it's because there is a known vulnerability that's remote code with execution right now that has been unpatched. I have Flash disabled, so that's fine, but, you know, that's why I was saying be careful in the chat. Anyway, have a good night.